Hey y'all, what's up? I'm Serena and welcome back to my book nook. Today we are going to be diving into everyone's favorite aesthetic, dark academia. For any of y'all that don't know what dark academia is, it's essentially getting an education but cooler. I love dark academia as much as everybody else does. I mean, to be a college student going to university somewhere in Europe, really far away, drinking my black coffee every morning while reading some really smart person book and strolling through my campus filled with other pretentious ass people. You know what I mean? That is the dream. That is the dream. So today I decided I would give some book recommendations based off that aesthetic, or not that specific aesthetic, but this whole dark academia aesthetic. Some of these books that I'm gonna list are not 100% fully dark academia, but it still has it in like some parts within the book. And even though it's not fully dark academia, I'm still listing them on here because regardless of the whole aesthetic, every book I'm gonna recommend is still a very great book. So this video idea is kind of what made me want to start my whole channel. The idea of making like a dark academia book recommendation really made me want to start a YouTube channel. So yeah, I guess this video-ish idea is kind of what made me want to start this whole channel. But it did take me a while to actually make this video because I had to collect a lot of books that had dark academia in them. I'm sure there are still tons of books out there with this aesthetic that I don't have, but you know, hopefully a part 2 in the future. It might take a while because I am on a book buying ban instituted by myself, because no sane person should be spending the amount of money I spend on books. So if I ever do make a part 2 to this video, it will definitely be in the far future. So enough rambling aside, let's get into the video. So first book, the #1 book in all dark academia, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is honestly the core staple of all dark academia books. The original, the ultimate, the blueprint, the one and only. This is the only book that you actually really need to know about when it comes to dark academia. Regardless of the whole aesthetic, it is such an incredible book. If y'all don't know me, I talk about this book a lot. It is literally my all-time favorite book. I recommend it to everybody, and it usually has its own little special spot in front of my Percy Jackson box set and my Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban poster. But I decided to bring it out for this video. I love how this book is essentially like the heart of dark academia, despite it making fun of it. This book is a satire and it pokes fun of how pretentious all the characters are, so I think it's a little bit funny how everyone decided to make this the dark academia book. But you know, when we do discuss dark academia, we can't ignore the fact that it is a pretty elitist aesthetic. These dark academia college campuses that are always so fancy and look like castles, those are usually very expensive private academies that pretty much only the rich or a very elite few can afford. So it often is this aesthetic that has elitist values. The book makes fun of how pretentious the characters are, of how their morals are very clouded, and that's what this book essentially is. It's a deep dive into a person's morals, what makes them evil, and what causes them to do these horrendous acts, set in a very dark academia aesthetic. Out of every single book I've ever read, this is my favorite book just because it is so incredibly well written, well developed. It also did challenge me a little bit, which I really loved, because up until I read this book, I was reading a lot of very easy to read books. So this was the first book recently that I've read that's really sort of challenged me in my thinking, so which is why I loved it so much. Also, I realized in my last book recommendation video, I forgot to give a plot summary for each book. I'm not going to do that in this video either. I'm just going to stick to what I did in the first book and just talk about it. If you really want the books, I would suggest looking up the plot summaries yourself, because for some of these books I don't even know how to explain it without like spoiling it, because I don't know about you, but for me, I don't like reading plot summaries on books anymore because it feels like I'm spoiling it. That is not a good idea. Don't do what I do. Look up the plot summaries before you get a book, because otherwise you'll just sort of be thrown out of the loop. But I like being thrown out of the loop, but that's just like a me thing. what was I saying? Oh yeah, if you decide to get any of the books in this video, look them up beforehand, especially some trigger warnings, because again, it is dark academia, so a lot of dark stuff happens in this book. So I would just recommend looking up some things that might happen in this book that you might be sensitive towards, because again, dark academia. Anyways, point is, dark academia, morally gray, very pretentious characters. That's essentially what this book is, but I loved it so much. It is my all-time favorite book, and I think everyone should read it regardless of the aesthetic. Just read it. Just read it. So, next dark academia book is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I love a good mystery. True crime, mystery movies, mystery novels. This is your classic YA mystery book. And it's set in this very elite, very dark academia boarding school filled with all different talented kids. And it follows a murder case, or really like 2 murder cases, but that's not really the point. I mean, it is the point. That's the whole point of the book. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I read this book in about 1 sitting, and while I do admit the beginning is a little bit hard to get into, it is so worth it. Once you do get into it, you're just sort of wrapped up in the story, you're following along in the mystery. This is a trilogy, however, so if you do decide to get this book, you can either get all 3 at once, or you can just get the first book to see if you like it or not, and then have to painstakingly wait for the other 2 to arrive. I did the second option. It's the more practical option, but it's also the more annoying option. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a 4th book that came out, but it's sort of like a spin-off, so it's not related. But I think I might check that out next time I go to the library or something. There's also a little bit of enemies to lovers in this book, although I would really call it more of like mutual distaste with funny banter to lovers than anything. This book has honestly everything. It's got mystery, it's got romance, it's got laughter. Does it have any crying? I don't think I cried during this book, but it has a lot of those, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened moments, which every good mystery piece of content should have, you know? And it is also on the little bit more of the modern / contemporary side, with some cringy pop culture references that I hated but also loved at the same time. And also shout out to the author for including more diversity in this book, because, you know, again, this dark academia aesthetic is often very elitist and mostly white, because again, majority of these rich people are white people with generational wealth. And so I really loved how the author tried to break these boundaries by saying, okay, well, you know, POC exist and we're gonna try to incorporate them. It is still a very good book, a very good mystery book. I definitely had those I can't believe that happened moments during this book, and the writing was very easy to digest and follow. The characters again were very all like quirky. You'll see why in this book. But yeah, overall it's just a very great book that also falls within this dark academia aesthetic. So next book is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. As y'all can tell, I love Leigh Bardugo. I love her so much. She is amazing, and I didn't even read what this book was about. I just saw her name and I got it. Is that a smart idea? No. But was I let down? Absolutely not. I love this book. This is one of the most amazing books I've read so far, and let me just say, it definitely puts the dark in dark academia. It has a lot of crazy there. But what I loved is how the book sort of mixed dark academia with fantasy and magic, but it's dark magic, so it's like rituals and secret societies and all that stuff. You would think the two wouldn't mix. You would think magic and academia wouldn't mix, but they do. They mix so well within this book. Just, it's Leigh Bardugo. She amazes me every single time. The writing is so well done, and I love how it actually matches the tone of the story, and it sort of matches the main character's mindset, like how she acts, her attitude. The writing sort of matches that, and I love that. The story is nicely well developed. It starts a little bit slow in the beginning, but that's all right because it definitely picks up. Point is, I love this book so much. It just does everything so well, and I thought it was a standalone book, but you know, I don't think it's a standalone book anymore. I'm really hoping that she's announcing a sequel soon or something, because I cannot simply just read this book and just not get the sequel. Also, again, lots of diversity within this book. I love how authors are trying to break this elitist part of dark academia by including more diversity. Kudos to Leigh Bardugo. I love her so much. Everything just so amazing, so incredible, so fantastic. I love this book so much. Y'all should definitely read it. Next book I want to recommend is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Stiefvater? I don't know if I said her name right. I feel like every time I talk about this book, I keep pronouncing the author's name a different way. It's fine. This book doesn't necessarily revolve around dark academia, but I included it anyways for the parts that the boys are at. I think it's pronounced Aglionby Academy? Aglionby Academy. I don't know how to pronounce anything, so this book doesn't necessarily revolve around dark academia, but it still has it. Also, I just want to say Anzi's mammoth apartment thing, where it's like there are a bunch of books around and there's little like remnants of stuff he puts in his journal. I would say that gives off a very mad scientist / scholar vibe that sort of fits within dark academia. So I would argue that his apartment, which actually is like a main setting in this book, gives off dark academia vibes. So I'm gonna count that. However, this book is kind of one of those books that you don't read for the book, you sort of read for the vibes. You read for the vibes and you read for the characters within this book. If you still don't know what I'm talking about, I just finished and did a review actually on These Violent Delights. That's a book you read again for the vibes, for the world within. You don't read it for the actual book. That's what reading this book is like, you know what I mean? Because like, can I tell you anything that happened within this book? No. But can I tell you I enjoyed reading it? Absolutely. Absolutely. The time I had reading this was just a breath of fresh air. It was so nice. It was so relaxing. It was so enjoyable. Do I remember anything? No. But I know I enjoyed reading it. And this is definitely one of those books that you read for the characters and the relationships inside of it. I love the found family trope, so if you love that, that's in here too. I think the story and the concept is actually pretty interesting. I haven't read the entire series yet. I really want to though, but again, I am on a book buying ban, so when I am not on a book buying ban, I will try to get the sequel to this book as fast as possible. Next book I want to talk about is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Ayimide. So this book is a pretty recent release. It only came out early June, I think, first day of June or something like that. But I can definitely say it's one of the best books I've read this year. It is dark academia, Gossip Girl meets Get Out. However, it does have a lot of heavy subjects in it. So I would definitely look up the triggers in this book before you decide to read it. I love how this book starts off leaning on the young adult side with this whole Gossip Girl or aces revealing secrets sort of thing. This is not a spoiler, by the way, it's in the plot summary. And then it sort of ends on this very horrifying, unsettling note that leaves you very numb. It's a good thing though. All incredible books leave you a little numb at the end, and that's what reading this book was like. It was very unsettling, it was horrifying. It makes you feel sick to your stomach, and it should. It talks about and deals with the heavy subjects that come with dark academia and points out the flaws and again the elitism within it. However, you know, I definitely do have some criticisms of the book because it is the author's debut novel, so I admit it is a little bit rushed. Some parts are a little predictable. Again, some parts, but overall it is still one of the best books I've read this year. Just an amazing book, an amazing concept. I think everybody needs to read this book. It's just so incredible. I can't even put it into words. Final book on this list is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Again, not fully dark academia, but it is set within a college at some points, a very dark academia college. So I decided to include it on this list. It is a story based around superheroes, essentially. It's like a comic book, but without the comics in it. So just a book about superheroes, I guess. If any of y'all have read Renegades by Marissa Meyer, you'll definitely love this book. This was actually the last book I just finished reading, so I was very pleasantly surprised when I found out there was some dark academia in it. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But regardless, this is such an amazing book. It helped me with my reading slump, I would say. The characters in here are all very morally gray, morally ambiguous, very interesting dynamics and relationships. The story is interesting, the writing just matches the book and matches the tone so well. I'm beginning to think V.E. Schwab is turning out to be one of my favorite authors, honestly. It also sort of has that whole mad scientist slash scholar character that fits within this whole dark academia. Yeah, it's just overall such an incredible book. I don't regret buying it. I haven't read the sequel yet. I really want the sequel now because I need it. I need the sequel. Just overall amazing book. Definitely love the college part of it, which, you know, was the dark academia part of it. I think everyone should just read this book. Yeah, that's pretty much all the books on my list. Again, I really want to make a part 2 in the future of some more dark academia books, but it will probably take me a while, so it will definitely be somewhere in the far future, I think. If you watched the entire video and you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, don't. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down, you know. Don't do that. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!